Hello, everyone. This is David Ellis, and I'm here with Dr. Amir Jahangiri. And today we're going to be dealing with protection. And we're going to be dealing with protection, which stems from our last broadcast, which really dealt with the light and the dark workers. And since then, people have asked us, so now that we know both ends of the spectrum, how does one protect ourselves? Because I have a protection regime which I follow, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. There might be a very good reason why it works. Protection is not all it's cracked up to be. You actually have to know what you are doing, really. So today we're going to be discussing the strategic versus the tactical methodologies of magical practice and the healing practice and all the different kinds of practice. And before we get into that, I'm going to pass the ball to Amir, and Amir will speak to you for a bit. Go ahead, Amir.
Thank you so much, David. Ladies and gentlemen, my warmest greetings to you. Thank you so much for being here with us. We sincerely appreciate your support and the dedication you have to improving yourself. That is really the reason for UCM existing. Together we grow and together we are strong. So today we're going to go into some more detail. I mean, we've talked about psychic defense in passing, but this broadcast is dedicated to this. Strategic versus tactical. If you have strategy, it's likely you'll have less need for tactical defense and getting your hands dirty, so to speak. Thinking in terms of a master tactician or a master chess player, thinking ahead of the game. That would be the desired way to conduct oneself. Think of having a beautiful temple, but around there's walls, and around the walls there's a moat, and then around that you put some barbed wire, and then around that you put 1 or maybe 10 minefields, right? It's all about thinking ahead in how to make it difficult for somebody or something to affect you in an undesired way. And then, of course, you've got a savage enemy who goes over all the barriers and goes through the minefields and through the moat and over the wall and through the guards and comes to your bedroom, and then you've got your katanas ready, right? So think of it pretty much as the art of war. So, David, let's dig into it.
You know, there is nobody that I know out there who's teaching strategic and tactical practice. And it's been a source of great annoyance to me because they teach a lot of basic stuff to students, and they teach that kind of stuff on the premise that the rudiments will be enough, not realizing that the fastest growing religion out there are Black magicians. That's the fastest growing religion. That's the fastest growing practice out there, Black magicians. Things have changed over the last 3 or so years. People have gotten angry. They have become internalized. And for the spiritual people who have been the brunt of, let's put it this way, less than happy government policies, they have become very, very angry, and a lot of them have gone over to the side of the dark, destructive magic. So, first of all, let's start with the beginning. Definitions. If you have a strategic practice, you see way into the future. You see all the various things that can happen and can't happen, which is actually using your precognitive sense, okay? You look at what I like to call permutation analysis, all the permutations on the chessboard that could possibly happen. If you are a tactical person, you are the dodge artist of the century. You dodge things in the moment, in the now, in the short term. That is the difference between a strategic and a practical, strategic and a tactical practice. And so today we're going to teach you guys strategy and tactics. Both Amir and I are students of the art of war. For those of you who haven't read that book, I highly suggest you read this book. It has nothing to do with spirituality theoretically, but then it has everything to do with spirituality on a more technical sense. So why are we doing this is the next question that we don't understand. Because a lot of you like to believe that I feel like I'm under psychic attack as an example, and I will get my black tourmaline and then I will get my amethyst and I should be okay, right? No. And so, no, you won't be okay. It depends on what's attacking you, who's attacking you, and why they're doing it, and how skilled they are as a practitioner. And if they've already figured out what it is that you're going to do prior ahead of time and figure out a way around it. Now, you guys are going to say, this sounds like a Harry Potter novel, and possibly you're right. There is some truth to be had when you're talking about Harry Potter villains going after the students of Hogwarts. Oh my God, I really dislike that show, right? There's some strategy to be had there. So before you guys say anything, and before we get into it, I'm going to pass the ball to Amir, and then we're going to get into tips and tricks. Number 6.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, please consider, like physical reality, there are different levels of attack with different amounts of energy and sophistication. So in the same way that you take many different strategies and precautions to safeguard your physical safety, you would have to do the same when it comes to spiritual security and safety. So let's put it this way. If somebody isn't on the spiritual path, things come and go, they're not even aware of it. Probably they'll live their life without any problem. But the brighter you shine, you absorb moths to the flame. So if you're shining bright, it's very likely you'll be targeted with a corresponding level of intensity. So with every other aspect of your spiritual development, safeguarding yourself, that light that is shining from you, that is your duty. Self-preservation is the law. And it's prudent not to leave this to the last moment or after the fact to then start trying to remedy and fix the destruction. Sometimes that could be very difficult, very painful. So our objective for this broadcast is to try and give you practical methods of safeguarding yourself in a spiritual sense.
Okay. You see what he just said? What he just said is very, very important. Because what he said to you, which may have gone over a few people's heads, is that you think ahead. The brighter you shine, the most likely you will be to be attacked. And it may be from your neighbor. It may be from someone else in the spiritual community. It may be from anybody else. That's just a statement of fact. It's kind of like in our sense of the word, in the 3D sense of the world, you become more successful, you start gaining money, or I don't know, followers on Instagram or whatever the case may be. People will come after you. That is a statement of fact, through jealousy, through wanting to steal your energy, through trying to inveigle you out of your money or your time or your precious energy. That's how it works. You guys know that. And by the way, what I just described in the 3D sense is another kind of energy vampirism or another kind of attack. And so if you know this and you are aware of this, becoming proficient as a spiritual healer, as a spiritual or an energy manipulator will lay you open to the jealousy of others. So we're going to start with the tips and tricks. The first thing is knowing that thing I just said. Being aware is the first thing that you need. The second thing that you need is make sure that your practice is grounded. And what does that mean? Some of you live in lands that have a certain kind of power to them. Some of you live in lands that have a very ancient history to them. There is energy in those lands. The land is actually trying to talk to you. It's trying to talk to you. And this is from the shamanistic point of view. The land is trying to talk to you. Are you listening? Are you a friend? Or are you just somebody who's living there for the time being? The very sky is talking to you. The dirt underneath your feet is talking to you. The trees are talking to you. May I highly suggest that you make the land where you're living your ally, as opposed to just some stranger, some acquaintance that you're around. And what does that mean? It means going out into that land and actually taking the time to meaningfully connect to it. Amir, you know what that means, don't you? Because you have done shamanic practices.
Absolutely. So, ladies and gentlemen, David put this beautifully. We're not separate from the cosmos. Everything is connected. So if you're living in a certain geographic region, please make sure to find out the history.
Yes.
Find out about the ancestors of the land. Find out about magical practices that have been performed upon that land. And then in the here and now, when you're walking upon this land, do it with reverence. Turn it into a ceremony of alliance, of healing, of friendship. So take the time, connect physically, meaning take off your shoes and socks, find a spot that is clean, and make that physical connection. Then do some energy work. Feel the flow of the energy of the earth coming through you, going to the heavens, down from the heavens through you, back into the earth. Anchor some light codes. Relieve the earth of some of its burden. If there has been bloodshed on the earth, honor the vanquished. Put them at rest, right? Because you look at a plot of land and you just may see land and some plants growing, but there's far more going on in the energetic realms that the naked eye would see. So open up the eye of your soul, take in that information, and then through blessing the land and all those entities living upon it, whether they're physical or non-physical, energetic, etheric, in different domains, bless them, put them at ease, become the healer of everything living, in any sense of the word living. And then watch everything living become your ally. So somebody who then wishes to harm you has to face an entire unseen army. That, hey, this individual is a shaman of the earth or an energy healer. They've healed my cousin Vinny, right? How dare you try and harm this noble being? So does Mother Earth. You've anchored light codes, relieved Earth of an enormous burden through your healing work. So you're immediately setting up the scene where the locals are on your side. So thinking of a battlefield, if the locals are on your side, you have refuge, you have information, you have volunteers that will help you. So this would be a grand strategic step to take towards your defense. Aligns with the land you live upon.
Yep. That was the second tip. The third tip that I want to bring to our discussion is stop ostriching. Some of y'all think if I am not aware of something, it can't harm me. No. No. That is a fallacy that has given over the ages. If I put cyanide in your drink, it can definitely harm you. Why do you think it's different in the astral plane? You not knowing about it means that you will eventually be affected by it. And so becoming aware that you are being psychically attacked, becoming aware that there is something on the horizon which is not right. And this is where we go back to the previous point. Become aligned with the spirits of the land and nature around you. Because nature will warn you, okay? Let me tell you the kind of foes that Black magicians don't like to face. Nature. Number one,
Oh, yes.
They don't like to face that stuff. When the whole of nature is against you, nothing can save you.
You got a big problem.
Nothing can save you. So become a friend to nature. Nature will warn you something is going wrong. It will warn you that something is going wrong with your own body. You read the book of nature and then the book of man second. For those of you who don't understand that reference, the book of nature and the book of man are the same book. And so when you are reading the book of nature, it tells you what is inside the book of man, and the two books cannot be read in isolation from each other. And so that's how it should be, but we live disconnected. And so once again, stop ostriching. Pull out your cognitive, your psychic sense, turn it on, and do not turn it off. You want to talk about protection? Then get up to that high wall and look out on the horizon to see what is coming. Because a lot of people get caught by surprise. Oh, I don't know what's happening. Really? You don't know what's happening? You do know what's happening. What you meant was I didn't see it coming. So my suggestion would be to take your head out of the sand and actually look at it. Amer, I'll let you speak about this.
Absolutely. So, ladies and gentlemen, think of nature as an infinity of portals and conduits. And all those living beings, from the tiniest single cell organism to the mightiest animal, to the greatest tree, which is thousands of times in order of biomass to the physical body we occupy. They are conscious. Many a time your spirit guides will occupy a tiny insect, which will come and just land in the palm of your hand and give you a message of what is to come. If you're brainwashed into the modern civilization, you're going to go, ew, oh no, oh hell no, I'm allergic to this and that. Get away from me, you filthy thing. While you must understand that everything in nature is reverent, it is divine, it is sacred and worthy of respect and your attention. So if something as unusual as an insect landing on the palm of your hand happens, wash away that ego, communicate with it. Hey, welcome, little insect. Thank you for your sacrifice. You know, by doing this, you're putting your life in danger, that the monkey brain is going to go, kill it, kill it. Many a time people do that. So thank you for taking this risk to be the messenger of the divine realm. Please give me the message. I'm very grateful. And it speaks to your knowingness. Hey, buddy, be very careful. In the next so-and-so hours, such and such may happen. And once that actually comes to pass, it'll blow your mind. And with that, it'll blow away all doubt.
Yeah.
So you have to be aware of, let's say, omens in nature. It could be a cloud in the sky. You get that urge to look up. And you look up and you see a pattern in the clouds that just is there for you. A message from the other side, from your divine team that are telling you, hey, thumbs up, you did an incredible job here. Or beware, this is on the horizon. And David mentioned something else that's very powerful. If nature is on your side, you're going to win. There's no two ways about it. Somebody wants to mess with nature, they'll get buried in a tsunami or a mudslide, or thunder will strike them, or they'll drown in the water, or they'll fall off a cliff. You see, nature is alive. If you have a fight on your hands and your opponent is nature, oh my goodness, you've got a big, big problem. So how would you become an ally of nature? You must remove boundaries of your ego. You're not a human anymore. You're not a certain gender or race anymore. You are life. Full stop. Everything else that is life, including inanimate objects, are also part of you. You treat everything with unconditional love and respect. Anything needing healing, you first heal and then you haggle about the price. And if they can't pay you, you give the invoice to the divine, which will pay you back 1,000-fold.
Yep.
So these are some of the basics, right? And this fits in with Wudang. This fits in with a lot of native spiritual practices across the globe, whether it's the Aborigines or the Eskimos in the North Pole. It fits in with shamanism. It fits in with many, many forms of magical and spiritual practice. Watch out for nature.
Yeah, and on the point of ostriching, let me give you one of the very good signs that something is coming your way. That feeling of malaise. Let me describe it to you, because a lot of you have felt it and you did not actually know exactly what was going on. You wake up, you've eaten the same food, you've exercised the same way, everything is fine, but you're not. You have a feeling of malaise, that feeling of being put upon that you know is there. But you're like, I'm just feeling particularly down today. Why? Ask yourself why. Oh my God, ask yourself why. Why do I feel this malaise on me? That's an indicator that stuff is coming your way, to your zip code. Why do I feel this malaise on me? There are so many practitioners that I see. They wake up and they stumble. Something happens. Something else happens to them. Right? They're making a cup of tea. It falls on the ground. Cup breaks. Right? They get the mop. They wipe it up and it's not a big deal. Whatever else. But then a series of events, very small, start happening to them. And they're like, yeah, whatever. I'm good. I'm good. No. Stop. Stop what you're doing. Feel into what is happening. Why are these things happening in quick succession? Are they indicators? You think this is just you having a very, very clumsy day? No, actually, it's not. You are being spoken to. You are now in dialogue. And if you don't listen to those signs and you just brush them off as happenstance, then expect that that attack is coming. It's coming. And then you wonder why all of a sudden you're surprised by an attack. There were signs, you didn't take them on. So I suppose we should go into our, is that the fifth tip? The fifth tip is precaution. Precaution is better than cure. That's what they keep saying. And it happens in the spiritual world as well. Precaution is keeping your spiritual practice alive. You woke up this morning, and I assume you woke up in density. You're stumbling out of bed, or some of us are springing out of bed. It doesn't really matter, and so on. What is your first priority? Thank the universe for another day of life. Get into that chair, meditate. Get onto that mat, stretch, meditate. Do that first. Don't reach for the iPhone first. Do that first. Do you see how twisted we are? We wake up, we didn't look outside the window and started humming Morning Has Broken by Cat Stevens. We didn't. We reached straight for that iPhone like I wanted to see what happened on Facebook. I want to see what this guy's saying. That's what we did. I didn't. I'm sure Mary didn't. When you get up off that bed, thank the universe that you have another day on this plane to learn and grow. When you reach for that iPhone, you betrayed your place here. I cannot state this enough. Some of you have phone addictions. Your phone, as an example, or the electronic distraction is more important than your practice. The phone is more important than your practice. So I can put a daily meditation up on Facebook to try to mitigate that. So the first thing you see is like, oh, I need to do my daily meditation. Your practice is supposed to be more important than the phone. I don't care whether you're a Christian and you don't believe in the spirituality or Buddhist or whatever the case may be. The first thing on your mind should be giving all homage and reverence to the universal wellspring that has you here learning and growing. Amir, talk to them.
So David, what you just spoke about is having a baseline mode of operation, like a computer. When you switch it on, it first activates this base program, then that one, then this one, then that one. And if something goes wrong during this startup process, then there are red flags raised.
Yes,
So,
the boot up process, yes.
It makes sense to do this with oneself. So waking up, doing a meditation, giving gratitude, cleansing the body, doing a prayer, whatever floats your boat, ladies and gentlemen. It's important for a very practical reason. It's not just woo-woo. It allows you to switch on in the morning and do an entire system check.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing your baseline. Okay, I was speaking earlier with David. 6 months or a year go by, every single morning is pristine, everything is working, no red flags, no system errors. And then 7 days in a row, you get some errors. Okay, ding, 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 ding. That's an indication somebody's trying to mess with your energy. Now, if you just wake up, go to Facebook, watch the stocks and this and that, go onto the news, you've bypassed that daily system check. And then after a certain number of days, you become unaware of what your own baseline is, your energetic and physical baseline. So then you're really in trouble. You don't know something is happening and you have no baseline to compare it towards. So this is the very practical and scientific reason you would try to establish a morning routine. And by the way, this is part of our spirituality masterclass that is being prepared to be launched soon.
Mm-hmm.
These are very practical, important things. It's not all esoteric. It's not all magical. Some of it is very practical and all of it is very scientific. There's a reason behind every one of these procedures. Knowing the reason will help you then continue practicing it. So yes, David, I completely agree with what you just said.
Yeah, that systems check is very, very important. Precaution is better than cure. You know that something is going off kilter. If it is, you do. And now we get back into the tactics and strategies. One of the most effective ways, and I'm going to speak from the left-hand path, of deconstructing people who are on the path is to use their own arrogance about their practice against them. Would you like to know how that works? People always think that psychic attacks come from people with little black candles and they're like in their little caves and they're like setting negative energy and so on. Some of it is very tactical. I have had the pleasure, and I say the pleasure because I give respect to left-handed and right-handed practitioners alike, of meeting left-handed practitioners who were adept at taking out shamans. Okay, would you like to know how they did it? Because a shaman's basic defense is his connection with nature. Would you like to know how they did it? I need to educate you guys. For those of you who are into shamanic practices, y'all think y'all are invincible. No, y'all actually are not. Let me show you a bypass that is often used against people who are shamanic. Did you know that a black magician can make your connection to nature poison yourself? You're thinking, no, all connection to nature is completely pure, etc., etc., etc. No. Keep in mind that left-handed practitioners practice a variety of crafts, and they themselves are also shaman.
Absolutely.
So what is being attacked 9 times out of 10? When it is that a left-handed path practitioner goes after a shaman is not their connection to Mother Earth. That's not what is being attacked. It is their attitude of their connection to Mother Earth. Do you see the difference? Do you see the difference? Guys, this is the art of war, so I'm going to teach you guys some stuff here. Right? This is not spoken about on different networks and different magical shows, so I'm going to teach you guys some stuff. What is being attacked is not your connection to Mother Earth. A left-handed practitioner does not have to attack your connection to Mother Earth, because then he becomes an enemy of nature himself. But he can certainly attack your attitude towards your connection with Mother Earth. He absolutely can. And once he breaks that connection that you have with Mother Earth, once he breaks it, you are out to sea, okay? And you're probably wondering, well, David, that sounds all very vague. How does this work? Let's assume that you are using Mother Earth as a battery. A lot of shamans fall into this category. There is supposed to be a giving back to nature. All right? A circuit is created between the shaman and nature. Now, if, let's say, I'm going to be the black magician, I'm going to make you use and abuse nature more than you need to. I'm going to vary the balance where you're taking 80% and giving 10%. And in that 10% in between, your connection gets broken down bit by bit. Notice you're taking 80%, you're giving 10%. There's 10% variance in between. And inside that variance, if the 80%, 10% continues for very, very long, guess what happens? Your connection with Mother Earth has severed.
Yes.
And guess what happens to you then? You think you're operating with the whole of nature behind you, but you're not. Now, you're probably wondering, who the hell thinks that way? A black magician thinks that way. He
Yes, like
absolutely does.
Like many assassins throughout history, they use very ingenious methods to achieve their objective.
And I'm going to tell you guys something. I have seen this done even recently, where somebody was taxing nature so much. They were taxing nature and using nature in a sort of, how should I say, as a battery. And they give back, they didn't understand that they weren't giving back. They figured that, well, I observe nature, so therefore I am okay with nature. That's not what giving back means. That's not what it means. And if you're into shamanic practices, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Saying nature is wonderful is different from feeling nature is wonderful. You take the benefits, but you don't give back the stuff. And inside of that, your connection starts to break down. You don't see it. You don't see it. And it leaves an opening right there. It leaves an opening right there that even the tiniest, like little bug can get inside there and start working on you. And in your sense of peace or whatever else, you're okay. Now, I'm saying this because there are a lot of light workers who don't understand how they are psychically attacked successfully. And you guys might have the same issue. Keeping in mind that not everybody is going to be rudimentary and basic as a black magician or a dark psychic person. They're not going to be rudimentary or basic. Some of them are very, very, very smart. And they could use a variety of methods to break you down. As an example, cause you fear as an example, and you accept the fear, and then all of a sudden you are out to sea. It's just a break in the connection of that individual with their practice. You just have to do that thing. And it opens up this thing, this opening where anything slips in and disconnects you and cuts you off from the source of power that you are using, so that even picking up an amethyst will poison you. You're probably saying, no, that's not making any sense. David, I totally resist that. A lot of you are going to bash me in the comments for that. And I'm going to tell you guys, if you don't understand, this is why I say to you guys, if you have not read from the book, both sides of the book, then you have a problem. Because some of you all are saying, I don't want to know anything about dark magic and so on and so on. And I'm telling you, you not knowing about that kind of stuff is your undoing. It is your undoing, because I have seen these things utilized more than once. So I want you guys to understand that when you are doing whatever practice you're doing, you have to stay very grounded and true to the practice in every way, shape, or form. Always, and it usually happens to people who didn't get the basics correct the first time. Because if you're a shaman and you got the basics correct and you practice, you would know that, look, being in connection with nature, you gotta do that systems check every day, all day. That's my spiel on that tip. Abel, over to you.
So beautifully put, David. People are really unaware of the complexity of how energy works, and that making the assumption that you're always on the right side of things just because you have the correct intention is a fallacy. You can be subtly manipulated to be off track in the worst possible way.
And you won't see it.
And you won't see it because you think my intentions are pure and that's all that's required. No. You can be manipulated, ladies and gentlemen. So with the example of using nature as a battery, that is part of the illness of mankind.
Yes.
That greed overtakes. Greed is a disease that cannot be turned off. It's an itch that is never scratched enough. And if you're in that mode of greed, you look at nature as a resource, not as a source of love and life. So if you gain energetic access to the earth, you would absolutely drain that location of earth.
Yes.
You become the very parasite that Mother Earth dislikes, that tick on the back of the dog that the dog scratches off and throws off. And something else that you must also kindly consider is, if anything life-giving remains stagnant, it goes towards decay. If water flows through the rocks and through the mountains, it is pure and life-giving. The same water you keep stagnant in a container, algae and bacteria starts growing into it. So there has to be a healthy circulation of energy. Take, give back, like the very act of breathing.
Yes.
Hold your breath for 10 minutes, see if you last. It's not going to work. And so David mentioned something else about this connection being manipulated through fear. Now, ladies and gentlemen, please consider this, that every single trauma that you have received can be a point of attack. If it's hatred, if it is sorrow, if it is greed, if it is anger, if it is shame, if it is blame, if it is guilt, any of those low vibrational thought forms and energies, if you do not remove this and heal this permanently from your system, that is always an old injury that can be reattacked, and it can be a port of entry to your energy. So it's so important to address these. And of course, we've had individuals who started on the path of learning spirituality from us. They reach a point where we observe that they have many unhealed traumas.
Mm-hmm.
And empowering an individual in that state would be unethical, right? So you have to also, ladies and gentlemen, consider this. If you empower yourself without healing those previous traumas and wounds, you become a danger. Without wanting, you become controlled through anger, through fear, through grief, through so many negative emotions that are vulnerabilities. You become a force of destruction.
Yeah. And I just want to give you guys a little tips and tricks because we're talking about psychic and magical warfare here, okay? And the reason why we're giving you those tips and tricks, because I've seen a lot of people, for want of a better word, come under attack because of their own ego and their own arrogance and their lack of understanding of what they're doing. And it's not usually taught in a lot of traditions. So a lot of people teach you all about the light aspect. You go to a Reiki course and they say, well, you know, do this, that, and the third, and you will be protected. And because you're not under attack, because you are low vibration at when you started, right? Over a period of years, you become stronger in your healing practice and so on. And then your light shines brighter. And then, yeah, you're going to get attacked. You absolutely will. Okay? And so, because these people didn't teach them the antithesis of light working at the basic level, they think that they're protected when they become, for want of a better word, light workers, light beings. And so they don't see a lot of things coming. And so let me give you strategy number 2 of left-hand path practitioners. And I'm going to give you the strategies. And there's a whole bunch of left-hand path practitioners like, hello, why are you doing this? I'm like, I'm just making things fair. Really, I am. So strategy number 2, and this is an art of war strategy, a very old one. If I can't get to you because nature is on your side, I am going to sever your connection with nature by poisoning the next closest person to you to make you break down and despair. Observe what I just said. I can't break your connection with nature. I am not going to fight with nature because I know better. Okay? So I am going to take your spouse, your best friend, and load a poison inside of them. And then they come to you, and then through your care and concern, you are utilizing all of your capacity on that person and draining yourself bit by bit. Do you understand what I am saying to you? Do you understand? The energy that you're using may be limitless. You are not.
Yes.
And so a lot of people are going to react badly when it is that they hear this. This is the strategies that I have seen used against people. It's very effective.
Yes.
Because you care too much about the people around you, and you absolutely should care about them. Understand that there are evil people out there in the world that absolutely know this dynamic. And it might not be one person, it might be 3 or 4 people at the same time. And you find your healing ability stretched over 4 people continuously over a period of months, sometimes years, depending on how proficient that practitioner is. Or it might be something simple as creating disturbance and disharmony inside these people so that they attack you. Turn those closest against you into foot soldiers against you. This has been used and utilized by a bunch of very evil people over a period of years and centuries. It is being used in society right now. Listen to what I just said to you guys. Please hear me. It is being used in society right now. Do you think it is reasonable that your neighbor, who you used to trust to let your kids go over and play with, now hates you because you made a decision about your own medical health? Do you think that sounds right to you? So now you are the enemy. Whatever microbe it was that may have attacked the planet and so on is not the enemy. You are the enemy. You are the bad person. You are the evil person. And these people know better. You think that it's just coincidence? Listen to what I'm saying to you. So if you are in that category, understand that it is being used very effectively to break down light workers everywhere, all over the planet. That is the macrocosm. Microcosm, somebody wants to attack you, they're going to poison everyone around you with the left hand, straight into their chest and corrupt them. And honestly, guys, that is a very effective attack against light workers.
Absolutely, David. So, our esteemed audience, ladies and gentlemen, sometimes you may be shocked by the effects of this strategy. So you may be living in a family with your parents and you see they suddenly go apeshit.
Yeah.
They lose it. Okay, they absolutely lose it, turn into a crazy person when they see you working on yourself, right? Working on your crystals or your tarot deck or whatever. And then they switch back to human mode and forget the whole thing as if it never happened, right? That's a psychic attack upon you. They can't get to you because of your practice, so they're using the weak link in the chain.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to be parents, could be your children, could be your spouse, could be your distant relatives, friends, whatever. People who are around you who do not have the energetic boundaries that you have. So it's a very effective yet cruel and dishonorable method. They're using the best part of you, which is your compassion and humanity and loving nature, against you. Right? And it's difficult to deal with. Very difficult. You're left between a rock and a hard place. You think to yourself, what do? I love this person. They're being used to hurt me.
Mm-hmm.
So what should I do? I can't just leave them. That wouldn't be right. But yet I can't just allow them to harm me. That wouldn't be right. You see, already there's disturbance in your energy. And that's going to have a detrimental effect to your strength, the strength of your defenses in a total amalgamated point of view. So yes, this does happen. So ladies and gentlemen, we do not choose the families we are born in, okay? We do not choose the souls that incarnate into the vessels of our children. So some things are beyond our control. But beyond that, we do have a certain amount of control. Please be careful who you associate with. Associate with good people. People that you know have a certain level of honor, of integrity. So at least if it is the case that they come under attack, you say, I know you're good. I'm going to fight for you. Whether it be 10 years, I'm going to take that on. Whatever the cost is, to hell with it. I'm stronger than all of it. Right? So there is a certain amount of control we have in these situations. And then while you're protecting yourself and safeguarding 15 other people that are coming under attack, you still have time to address the source of the attack. So it's not like you're helpless. So you prevent the whole thing from coming down. You're the central pillar that all the weight is resting on. But be aware, these things do happen. And I'm sure lots of you, ladies and gentlemen, have seen this. You may not have known what's been going on. What the hell? What the hell? Why did that just happen? Okay, now you know. Somebody's trying to get to you.
Yeah. So I'm going to tell you a story, which is a true story. I once knew a young lady who was very sickly. She had a very tender health condition. And she was allergic to grass. Did you know allergies? When you see them, you got to look at that allergy and what it's doing. People, I'm a nutritionist. When I hear people have allergies or food allergies and so on, I always try to figure out what is that allergy trying to do. So she was allergic to grass. Oddly enough, she was also allergic to vegetables. She couldn't eat vegetables. She had a massive reaction. She would break out in a rash when she had vegetables. So you're allergic to grass, which means you can't stand on the earth. You can't eat vegetables. And apparently she had a problem with ice as well. not water, just ice. When you see these combination allergies or allergens, that is usually a very good sign that whatever's happening with that individual, their connection to Mother Nature is being neutered. And so this individual and I had a very high level, because she was very smart, metaphysical discussion. And she says, well, for somebody like me, there's no connection to Earth because I literally break out. And then I leaned forward and I said to her, you breathing, right? What's that you're doing right now? You're breathing. She's like, yes. I guess you ain't that cut off from nature, are you? She was in my yoga teacher training class. Okay? I'm like, you ain't that cut off from nature. So I told her, quite simply, breathe in the air. Okay? You're not that cut off. The only way you're not dead yet. And if you're dead, you get stronger because you are definitely part of the earth now. So let me explain something to you. When it is that you guys feel that you are broken and you're away from nature, you may live in a city and so on. I lived in Toronto. Every time I think about that, I get like, wow. Anyway, I lived in Toronto in a high rise. I did. And I would be on that balcony and be dragging in whatever air was inside there into my lungs every day. Okay? I would do pranayam every day. Get down on that mat, stretch, bend. Because trust me, there wasn't a lot of connection to Mother Earth in Toronto. Trust me, it wasn't. I mean, if you want to connect with concrete, fine. Right? But I was doing pranayam every day. There were no excuses. As long as you are breathing, you can connect back to nature. And so I just wanted to tell you guys this story because a lot of y'all might say, well, guess what? Not everybody has the luxury of taking off their shoes and connecting with Mother Earth. And I'm going to tell you, as long as you're breathing, you're still in connection with the earth. Okay, so there's that point that I would like to bring, which brings us to the next tactical and strategic strategy of attack against light workers. And I'm arming y'all with the defense measures, okay? So taxing them is what we just discussed. We could either make them arrogant, tax them. Here's another little known technique of psychic attack against people who are light workers. Give them the troublesome client. Make their minds work overtime. Let me explain to you what that looks like. The troublesome client, if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, is a client with elusive issues.
Yes.
And so being a light worker, you're thinking to yourself, it doesn't matter. You internalize and you analyze the issue. And you spend a lot of time in your head. Guess where you're not in when you're in your head? You ain't in your heart. So making a light worker think and overthink takes them away off of their center and brings them the energy to a place where it can absolutely be attacked. That is actually a real thing that I have seen used. Because I used to have debates against people. We used to have those spiritual debates back in the day. When you take a light worker away from the heart and start cerebrally taxing them, they tend not to be in their heart. And if you're one of those people that operates from your heart, oh boy, that's going to be a problem for you. And so how do you still have a discussion and operate from your heart while you're having that kind of analytical process running in the back of your mind? Once again, come back to the fundamentals. Practice. Foundation is key. Foundation is key. When you woke up this morning, as an example, you checked your baseline. Okay, we're good. Did you get your hugs this morning? Did you pick up that teddy? Did you pick up the spouse? Did you pick up the child and hug that person? Did you get filled up inside? Did you or did you not? Because if I knock you off of agape, you are out to sea. If I knock you off of the unconditional love, that throne that you sit on, you are out to sea. So get your hugs, get your kisses, get your connection with nature. If you don't have a teddy, as an example, get your connection with nature and smell the roses. Fundamentals, foundation. Just for today, do not worry. Remember that? Get back to foundation. You know the best thing in Reiki were those rules by Usui. Get back to foundation. Get back to foundation. Get the hugs, get the kisses, look at nature, smell the roses. All of these things are important, right? Because then if you run up into work and you light some incense and you say, oh, now I'm ready to begin work. Okay. And then that troublesome client runs up inside your office. That client, and you're all cerebrally programmed to try to get to the bottom of this. This is very interesting. This is very interesting. And so on. And slowly you're sliding off that agape stance into the realm of the analytical. Not that the analytical is bad, you absolutely need it, but you need the balance. And we said it in the last broadcast, for light and dark practitioners, balance is key. Balance is key. And I suppose that's my wrap up. There's actually one more thing, which we will deal with in a little bit, but that's my wrap up for the tips and tricks for protection. Amir, you have the last word.
I'd like to address our esteemed audience on this last issue you raised. Ladies and gentlemen, unless you are a trained psychotherapist, please do not enter into that realm. It is a very specialized practice, scientific practice that requires training, absolutely requires training and years of dedication. So if you try to enter into that kind of healing without the proper knowledge and background, you will harm your client and you will harm yourself. So what are you left with? As a person who has a holistic approach, an energetic approach to healing, try to bypass words, right? Bypass the analysis. The client comes into contact, you warmly greet them, say, please be seated or lie down in a comfortable position and begin immediately. Because that healing approach that is based on love will benefit the person. You don't have to psychoanalyze them. These are two completely different things. Well, if somebody has that training and ability to do energetic healing with psychoanalysis, so Dr. Ellis here is one of those rare people who's got a foot in the ocean and a foot on land. In both of these realms, he has the education and the background. Unless you're somebody like David, please don't do that. Because now in this topic where we're talking about psychic defense and psychic attack, then you're just taking on the crazy. You're harming the client and you're harming yourself.
And I'll tell you why he said that. There is such a thing called transference in my profession. And it works in two different ways because it's always spoken about in one way. So let's say a client comes to you with a problematic set of issues, and the client is speaking to you as an example. What is happening there, especially when a client is wounded inside, is that a vortex is being created whereby you are being sucked into that client's energy space. And a lot of people don't realize that it's happening. Guys, you know what I'm talking about. If you have been in practice for more than a year, you would have run into one of those clients. You would have. An energy vortex is created while you're being sucked into that client's disturbances and so on. And just through the power of words, that person is inadvertently spell casting in reverse. Because a lot of people think spell casting is, I'm going to say this out. Some spells are involuntary. And then you get caught up in that energy because every time you ask the question and they're drawing you in and they're drawing you in, and because you are a decent human being, you're being pulled slowly into that vortex. And then you leave your practice and you are fuzzed out.
Yeah.
Completely fuzzed out. You don't know east from west at that point in time. And you go home and you are tired, irritable, etc. and so on. Well, that's usually a sign. The wounded client can actually attack you, right? And it's not that the client is trying to attack you voluntarily. The client is just doing what a wounded person who is drowning is doing. They are holding on to whatever they can to stay afloat. Do you hear me? Do you understand? Don't weaken yourself by going into these planes of existence. And if you are not trained as a psychotherapist to see that vortex happening, please don't do it, right? Some of you all think that it is inhumane to not necessarily listen to everything that your client has to say, but you have to manage your energy a little bit differently, which is the last thing that I'm going to say. And you also have to manage your ego as well, because you think that you can offer some wise words of comfort a lot of the times, and that might not be actually what the client is looking for. The client is after your energy to stay afloat. And it's not a bad thing. It is a natural instinct of any creature who is drowning to reach out and grasp onto whatever is around them to stay afloat. So no judgment there on the client.
Correct. So David, it's like being a lifeguard in a swimming pool or the ocean. Part of the training of the lifeguard is to repel the attack of the person being drowned. They're acting upon instinct. So sometimes you actually need to overpower the person to keep them afloat. So this would be in the sort of swimming situation. In the healing situation, sometimes you also have to repel that kind of instinctual attack on your energy through silence. Okay, the Reiki is going to work just fine. Nobody says you have to talk while doing Reiki, or you have to talk while doing craniosacral therapy. No, be silent. Allow the patient, the client, to enjoy that flow of healing energy without the words, because the words are powerful. So you also have to have the wisdom to know when to be silent. Unless you have the skill, the technique, the qualifications to help somebody in that area, in that fashion, please don't do it. You'll damage yourself, and most likely you'll damage the client even further.
Yep. And the last thing that I would have to say on this is, guys, remember to check your ego, because that also takes you off center. Black magician can actually attack you by inflating your ego.
Yes.
Yeah, because that will take you out of sync with nature, for sure it will. I'm the best healer. I am this kind of person. I'm the best healer. I could do whatever. I could cure you. I could do this. If those words are coming out of your mouth, these extravagant, outlandish statements, and like you are like doing a whole bunch of stuff like, I know this person or that person. If you are that person, pay attention and check the ego due to the fact that also takes you off of center and lays you open to attacks. So that's my spiel. Amir, you have the last word.
Thank you, David. So, ladies and gentlemen, a lot of what we talked about during this broadcast revolves around the notion of balance. Balance in your energy, balance in your attitude, balance in your actions, the give and take, balance in the intake of food, balance in sleep, balance in exercise, balance. So if you can maintain a baseline of balance, be aware of it, then any kind of attack will be something that draws you away from that neutral point. And the way you would prevent the attack and safeguard yourself is going back to that neutral, that sacred balance where you can operate in your highest efficiency. So keep that in mind. Thank you so much.
Okay, guys, for those of you who haven't already, please join our UCM community. We're going to be actually doing movies for you guys to critique and so on. We're going to be putting resources inside there. We already have put quite a lot of resources for those of you who have businesses. They are completely free. Joining the community is completely free. And we want to remind you guys once again that we will be doing courses. Amira actually has a course coming up, which is the magical system of the Kujikiri. Please check that out because, yeah, Amira is very much versed in the principles of magic and magical systems and so on. And for those of you who would like to get the foundations done correctly the first time, this is your man. Okay? Guys, we'll see you next week. Take care. Bye-bye.